now you got all the questions, and you heard Bubba say it, right? I don't know. It kind of puts me in a position to where I don't know about my future, and it's uneasy. And now it's going to spread through the shop, through the employees, unless they address it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go on the ball. What a race! California's Kevin Harvick does it. Tree making right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Kaitlyn Vincie. He's Mamba Smith. He's our very
normal,
low-key
Mamba
today.
Low-key.
I like that, though. You don't always have to be so extra.
No, and it matches. You came in so strong last week. I really was I thought harder about my outfit this week.
Well,
Okay.
we could never start a show without addressing everyone's outfits.
Yeah,
that's
I like what you got going on. Did you get that out in Charleston?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not do any shopping in Charleston.
I figured you would have.
Yeah, no. And then you got the happy hour shirt on.
Yeah, I just, he had the jacket made, and I'm like, you know what? My wife gives me crap about wearing logos too much, so I'm going to make another logo shirt just to create
Where'd
a
you get that?
conversation at home. I don't know. I asked him to make the shirt.
It
took like
one
2
yet.
months to get it approved,
Listen,
get the logo done, and here we are.
we need the closers. Closers need to start get that chatter up about this merchandise. We need to start getting this
Merchandise. We could have some
the wrap.
pretty cool merchandise. We could have coffee mugs.
I know. I do like the
with
stickers
the
of
stickers.
Kevin's
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about my face on the.
No, that's
but-
my
The
favorite
mug.
part.
Well, I didn't get the Kevin mug face. Did you get it?
Yeah, I
today?
got yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It is
That's
the
nice.
Yeah. Look,
Perfect.
I have so many comments that I'm just going to steer
Just
away
gonna
from
steer away.
at this particular point.
Well, we're going to have plenty of comments today. I have
A lot of
feeling.
questions.
A lot of questions after race 1, round 1. We'll recap all of it. We encourage everyone to keep following us on social media. Leave a 5-star review. Also, these guys may jump in the comments, right?
Yeah, on YouTube. I saw you guys out there this week
Battle.
on YouTube, so it was good.
It's a battle.
There's comments. You guys are
There are plenty of
talkative.
comments, that's for sure.
Okay, so we are going to recap everything Atlanta, preview Watkins Glen, which is the second race, of course, of round 1. We got some good social sips on tap from Mamba as well. So I know you already spoke with Paul Wolf, crew chief for Joey Logano. By the way,
The best part about
man.
this morning so far is her coming in here
know.
just gloating.
I was not.
Just gloating
The
about her
first thing
pick.
I said to you was how
And-
great an interview you
Well,
gave.
thank you. But you had that little pep in your step and just happy that you made the right pick. And you did make the right pick. Good job.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yes.
But what did I say? I said, this is the team that shows up. And Joey said, when it's playoff time, it's our time.
And he was right. And they do it all the time. And when I talked to Paul Wolf, it's very interesting to me how bad they were at the beginning of the year. And we've been through a little bit of this before in the past. But they were terrible. I mean, just absolutely horrendous. But they had the speedway stuff okay. And that has obviously stayed okay. They were able to keep the track position yesterday. They kept their cars up front. Well, Austin Cindric had a bad pit stop. But, Blaney and Joey stayed in the front. They worked together well.
Yes.
Most of the day, all of those Penske cars worked together well, and they were fast. And in the end, they had a great strategy. They had, great teamwork at the end to be able to keep the track position and get the 22 out front. So they just do it year after year. And I think a lot of that, and Paul said this in our Victory Lap interview, it's experience, right? They've been here, they've done that. They don't get flustered when they have the beginning of the season not going bad. You work on this category. I think they're still nervous about where they are with their mile-and-a-half program. But the best thing for the 22 right now is they have 2 weeks to relax.
That's true.
With winning that first race, there's nothing better than winning the first race in the playoffs because you can kind of breathe. But for them, this will allow them a couple weeks to prepare for those mile-and-a-half racetracks in that second round.
So Kevin obviously interviewed Paul Wolf. That interview is available now, by the way, if you want to hear from the crew chief of the 22. What did you think of the performance they had? And Ryan Blaney with the assist to the win.
Yeah, I mean, if you got, he's the best. He must be one of the best teammates to have behind you because he always does what's good for the team, not necessarily what's great for the 12 group. He does what's good for Team Penske. So he did his thing and the 22 won. But I think this round is all about execution, like executing and just not knocking yourself out, like doing everything well to get through, and they did it all right. And I think to your point, Kevin, they decided we're going to control Atlanta. We know we're going to be fast there. So the whole Team Penske group is like, we're just going to be out front and control this race from the front versus some other strategy that didn't really work out at all. So they did it right. And Joey, they don't get flustered. The team is back-to-back champions, as Team Penske. So they have championship pedigree, and they know how to win with this car specifically.
You were there this weekend. That's the first Cup track you've been to, right, since you finished Fox Half?
It is, yeah. And I think for me, it was a great experience because a lot of times we just go in the tunnel. You go to the motorhome, you go to the trailer, you go back to the motorhome, you go out the tunnel, you get on the airplane, and you go home. And for myself, it was Kaitlyn and myself. We were guests of SMI and Marcus Smith and his group. We stayed at the racetrack in the condo.
How's that? Is that cool?
That condo is unbelievable.
Really?
The windows hang even with it feels like with the catch fence.
That's awesome.
And
That
it's
is
right
cool.
there in turn 4. But being able to just look out in the morning, look out in the evening, watch the people migrate through the campground and the infield, and then to see the races and just see what I felt like from a driver standpoint was the edgiest, most nerve-wracking racetrack. I'm so glad that it wasn't the first round of the playoffs last year because that'd have been a mess. But being able to watch the race and see why people think it's so intriguing was good for me. And I think to be able to have that perspective and see Kaitlyn's enthusiasm about being able to be a race fan, because we've not been race fans. We rode
That's
around in
cool.
the golf cart.
Yeah.
We went in the garage, out of the garage, down in the campground, out into the front, and just had a good time of taking in a different perspective. But it was a great race to watch. They had a great crowd, and I'm happy for Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Kaitlyn's very observant, and he's kind of a harsh critic, I think, a little bit too, because didn't he ask what's going on with Denny Hamlin? Because we're all wondering.
Oh,
Because this was very unusual. I think, obviously, Denny and his crew chief, Chris Gabehart, 2 of the best.
yeah.
But what do you think was the methodology behind this?
Yeah, whatever it was, it's a complete failure. And when you look at the 11 strategy, it goes totally against everything that they are. Denny Hamlin is great on the super speedways. He's great at controlling the lanes. Obviously, I think they had some issues in qualifying that may have led to that strategy. They got no stage points, crashed at the end, and now they're
Only
just
2 above the line.
2 points above the cut line. So we've talked about this before. You cannot race this car scared.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
that looked like a scared strategy. Everything about it just looked like a totally scared strategy to get up there and mix it up. And you have to be able to find that track position at some point. I know they had some things that they were working on, it sounds like, with their car and the handling issues. But I can't imagine racing like that. And you have to be able to race aggressively with this car and put yourself in position. You're not going to ride around in the back all day and all of a sudden magically create track position. And I think, not only the racing on the racetrack, but the way that the whole charter thing went down. I mean, Denny Hamlin was a week ago my pick to win the championship, and it looked like the weekend was a complete train wreck
Yeah.
for everything 11. And Denny Hamlin with the way that all the other teams went signing the charters, 2311 sitting there not with their charter signed, and the sign on his back at
media day
and everything that went with that. It all goes against everything that looks good for racing for a championship.
I think, it's interesting because I think if you would ask anybody who are your first 4 locks into the
Right.
next round, the 11 was probably one of them.
One of them, yeah.
Now, because it's Atlanta, now we were thinking maybe they'd get into a wreck. They and eventually did, but they got into the wreck because they were back there in the first place, not because they were trying to run up front. I would never question Chris Gabehart's
Me
decision.
neither.
Like, he is like one of the top 3 crew chiefs in the
sport,
game
yeah.
right now. I just don't understand why you guys went to a prevent defense where you're trying not to lose instead of trying to go win.
Yeah,
They're
and
an
listening,
attack team.
listening to Denny's interview after the race, I
Mm-hmm.
went back and listened to it. well, we just thought we needed to score 20 points.
20 points.
What in the hell are we doing?
Do you think there's more to this story?
I don't know. And then we have the engine issues, right?
Yeah.
They have the spark plug wires, and we've talked about the Toyota engine issues that they've had throughout the year. Now we have a new problem that they had this weekend with the spark plug wires. But man, I think that this is one of the most disappointing weekends I've ever seen out of the 11 car, and just first round of the playoffs to lay an egg like that. It's not good.
His interview, he said, we just needed to try and finish 25th or better throughout the play. I don't understand that.
I don't
like
either.
25th? Like that's not even
a low bar
that's
for
not,
the 11 team.
So then if you get there, you just made it through. So you betting the second round you're going to win. Like you're just going to turn it back on at that point. I don't know. I thought that was
well, now you got to get there.
Well, yeah, because
obviously we expect him to go to the road course and run good. We expect him to go to Bristol and have a chance to win the race.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the 11 team that I turn the TV on every week to watch, to run around in last.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the guys that you expect to have that go for it strategy and put yourself in position, not calculating points.
Yeah, there were a number of surprises too, because obviously Kyle Larson had an early exit. Scary, violent hit for the 5 team and for Kyle Larson. But what did you think when you saw that unfolding?
I've been in that position. This is the edgiest racetrack that we go to from a driver's standpoint with how uneasy the cars are. You see a massive hit right there from Kyle Larson. But this race in that position that Kyle was in third right there, it will lull you to sleep. I did not the exact same thing, but I spun out just riding along on my own at this racetrack with this package. But the car just got a little bit loose right there, and he corrected and wound up stuffing the thing right in the fence. And then Chase Briscoe comes along and runs into the back of the car. But man, I'm just glad he's okay.
Yes.
But I used to always tell myself, you have to be ready for the unexpected. And that is just one of those moments when you think you're in a position to where you're in a good spot. But there's something when those cars get staggered like that, especially for the third car, they try to stagger, and the way that it takes downforce off the back, or the way that it puts air onto the right front fender, something obviously made that car loose and hadn't done that before, lap after lap after lap. But it will lull you to sleep at Atlanta and bite you quick.
It got his attention for sure. I mean, watching that, it was so fast. I was actually out with Ryan Truex and Parker, and we were watching the race, and we were watching. It was like, where did where did this come from? And then Kyle's interview, he's just like, I don't really know. Like it wasn't.
At first, he thought he had a tire go down.
Yeah, he thought he had a
thing he said.
Yeah, and then outside, he's like, we were really more tight than loose.
Mm-hmm.
So that all happened all at one time. And man, you've said it a bunch of times though. When you turn right and it catches, it's see you later.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in that position, typically you just want to spin it out. But I think it caught him off guard and happened so fast that he never had time to time to think about any of that stuff. But we've been talking about it. Atlanta is the edgiest racetrack that you have to drive these cars on. It puts on an absolutely fantastic show to watch. But those guys went through 400 miles of gripping that steering wheel like
Stress.
It's the last time you grip that steering wheel.
It's only going to lose.
At any moment, it can happen.
It's only going to lose more grip too.
Yeah.
Right? Like the track that you used to dominate on is low grip. So.
Yeah.
So Kyle Larson went into the weekend with a really good point situation. Now they're only 15 above the line. Chase Briscoe, you referenced with the other team that was a part of that situation. He's pretty much in a must-win at this point if he's going to advance.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I underestimated the magnitude of this being the first race of the playoffs. And I think when I back up and go and think about our picks for who's going to be out at the end of this round, the picks that we made last week, I think we underestimated the things that could happen.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's intriguing to me is the things that do happen usually have a playoff driver involved in them.
It's so true.
Yeah. But the guys who really benefited, from my standpoint, that I thought would, and I guess I should have thought this through a little bit better. Austin Cindric, benefited big time.
Big time.
Controlled the race. They made a mistake at the end, lost their track position, but they controlled the race, scored a bunch of stage points.
Yep.
27 up.
Yeah. Daniel Suarez.
Yep.
Kept himself in the mix. Guys that we didn't really know if they would make it through the next round. I think Suarez and Cindric, both decent road racers, have put themselves in a position to
compete,
have a chance to compete to get through the first round. So and Martin Truex, Bob Pockrass,
God.
he kind of called this one. He thought that those guys were just not going to have the momentum to get through to the next round, but wrong place, wrong time. But middle of the pack is not right place, right time. These are racetracks that you have to figure out how to get yourself to the front of the pack from aggression and strategy and things like that. And you cannot ride. You cannot ride.
You've been saying about MTJ, he's probably just ready to be done because they had a little bit of everything. Speeding penalty, involved in a wreck. He said the car was shit, didn't have any speed. Yeah. He is not happy right now, this man.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate. You want to enjoy the end of your career and the things that are happening. And he is definitely cranky on the radio. That's for sure. I don't think that's anything new, but he has definitely been cranky lately.
Unfortunate for him. He is 18 points below the line.
Yeah.
Who else kind of surprised you from this first race?
I mean, Bowman gained 27.
Yeah, let's talk about him.
Yeah, Alex Bowman gained 27 points to the line. And we talked about it before off camera that what it's doing is when we get to this next round, there's going to be a lot of cars within this realm of 5 to 10 points of each other. Yeah. Looking at the points right now. So, Larson is 50 and up. So thank God for him, thank God they had such a big cushion. But Suarez plus 22. We talked about Chase Elliott and William Byron needing good days. And Williams, I think, plus 33 and Chase is plus 24 right there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those are good things. But then you flip it, Ty Gibbs was Ty and Martin.
He was in position.
Yes,
I know, and that was my worry about him and Martin. Is not that they didn't have the speed; it was that things keep happening to them to knock them out of position to get the good finishes. And that's exactly what kind of happened to both of them.
Yeah, and I think when you back up to the 48, let's go back to media day.
Yeah,
right. And I think Alex having to answer all those questions about are you in the car, are you out of the car. And really getting all that out of the way before he got to the racetrack was good for him. And I feel like it's the exact opposite for the 11.
Yeah.
Right?
He brought it to himself.
Well,
the 11.
He has brought it to himself. And I think at media day, he wore the sign on his back and had everything, pointing towards answering all those questions. And then it just totally flipped on him when all those teams signed that charter deal and everything that he had going on. Laid an egg on the racetrack, and now here he sits, and he's not done answering all those questions.
There's more now.
There's more questions now.
More.
I mean, you're going to have to answer questions about how you raced. You're going to have to answer questions that you didn't answer last week about your charter. What are you going to do with Bubba Wallace? What are you going to do with Tyler Reddick? What's going to happen with your charters? The complaining about the charters is over, right?
Yeah.
Because their position almost, doesn't matter because of the fact that all the other teams signed the charters and everything that has happened. So now it's all kind of flipped on Denny. He's kind of been that voice for everything that's been happening with the charters. And now he's in a position where he's racing for his life to stay in the playoffs, where we all thought he was a championship team. And now he's going to have, unless they address it and they figure it out, he's going to have to address those problems week after week after week, because those questions aren't going away.
He's never had a problem with being Denny Hamlin, the race car driver, and Denny Hamlin, the owner. Now there is a little bit of an issue because the owner is dealing with some things that he's never had to deal with before. And now the driver's getting hurt by that a little bit, because now your brain is kind of split. And I don't know, it hasn't been a problem now. But since this whole charter deal went down, it seems like maybe
and I think that the other thing is too, it's the first time I've ever heard him refer to a statement like he did.
Yeah.
Right.
About the charters.
Yep.
And now it's just it's a bizarre.
What do you think is gonna?
Scenario.
Okay, so what do you think is gonna happen?
So what happens to the teams if they don't sign it? Like,
I mean, I think they obviously expire when they get to the end of the year. So I think I don't know enough about the ins and outs of the strategy of what they're trying to employ. But I just can't imagine that they thought that many teams were going to actually sign the charter deals, and you're going to have 2 teams that didn't sign them. I for sure didn't see Front Row not signing them. But 2311, I don't know. I don't think that they thought everybody was going to sign them, but it sure made them look like the oddball.
Is it something to do with the 2-car teams? Because it's both of them are.
Well, you got to remember, Front Row is supposedly going to buy that third Stewart Haas. The third car for them will be another charter from Stewart Haas. So it's all very interesting soap opera at this point.
I called.
It is. Yeah.
I did make an inquiry to kind of get some clarity and insight to the tower, to the mothership, and see what was there. But there's no their answer is like, we're not making commenting about it.
So you don't have
I didn't get anything, but I have no tea. But looking at how this stuff works, like Jim France is the chairman of NASCAR, and I think it's going to end up coming down to his decision on because now I'm sure 2311 has to somehow get back, like they missed the deadline. So you need some, it's like kind of like taxes, right? You need an extension or something.
Yeah.
So someone has to grant you that.
This is like a tax extension.
Yeah, like that. So I don't know, man. It's a wild situation.
Bob Pockers wrote a very informative article about this, and he posted it this morning, just talking about some of the quotes from people at 2311, just being really unhappy with what all the team was getting financially versus, the new TV deal and all these things. So I guess that's the terms they're just not agreeing on. Is that right?
Well, I don't know what it gets you at this point because everybody else has agreed. And, I think it's a very interesting scenario with everything that has gone on. I think from 2311's standpoint, you're dealing with a lot of legacy owners, right? That have been here for a long time. And you have these relationships with Richard Childress and Jim France and Rick Hendrick and Roger Penske and Jack Roush and whether you're the ringleader of and representing all these guys, they've all been here a long time, and in the end, those guys are all going to have conversations, and I think they're in a position that I don't think they expected to be in, but they've spent this amazing amount of money to be a part of the sport with their, 20-some, 30-some $1 million whatever shop, Airspeed.
Right.
It's beautiful, tracks all the people, but now you got all the questions, and you heard Bubba say it. Right? I don't know. It kind of puts me in a position to where I don't know about my future and it's uneasy. And now it's going to spread through the shop, through the employees, unless they address it and say, okay, we're going to sign it or we're going to do this or we're in or we're out. But they have to address that situation or it's going to spread a cancer through their shop like they've never experienced before.
You don't want that.
This is like the most inopportune time
Worst
to have a
timing
distraction like this, right?
Absolutely worst time ever because it's the most stressful time of the year. You have everything that's going on with the playoffs. You're going into the first round of the playoffs, and for Denny, he had about as bad of a first round as you could possibly have at Atlanta. Now you got to go to Watkins Glen. Oh, by the way, it's all kinds more prep than what you would prep for a regular oval. And then you got to go to Bristol. Sure, yeah, he could go to Watkins Glen and win. He could go to Bristol and win. But now you have all this chaos around you that you didn't have at the same time that you start the most stressful part of the season. So it's not ideal.
Wish I was in that team meeting at Gibbs.
Just a fly on the wall.
I just want to hear what the heck's going on over there. Okay,
but that's interesting. Your team your team that you drive for.
Yeah.
Signed the charter deal.
Right. That's
so how on the same page are you?
So you're good because like your car has a charter for but your team.
This is bizarre. The whole thing is
very bizarre.
The 11's locked in. The 45 and 23 are in limbo. What?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got more questions than answers. We've determined as we leave Atlanta. I'm sure, some of this is going to get sorted out this week or we'll be hearing more about it. Watkins Glen, the old road course, is coming up next. And this will not be the same track. They've made quite a bit of changes as well to the bus stop, the runoff in turn 1. So what are you anticipating for kind of not the new Watkins Glen, but the changes?
Yeah, I think that the teams will have their arms wrapped around the changes with the curbs and everything that goes with the Glen. Before they get there, they won't have a lot of time to figure it out. But I think that, you're going to have your same guys that are good at the road courses. And it's going to be interesting because of all the scenarios that we had at Atlanta. as to who is that guy that steps up and is the outlier of speed at Watkins Glen. So
Outline. Like that word.
yeah, it's a big word.
Spell it.
Yeah.
No, don't ask him to do that.
So I think it'll be interesting. Obviously, we expect Larson to be fast. We expect William Byron to be fast. The Gibbs cars have been good on the road courses. Tyler Reddick's been great on the road courses. So it'll be another interesting twist to the next weekend of racing and playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I heard Chase Elliott saying post race he thinks that qualifying session is going to be the ticket. He's like, that's where we're really going to get a read on the probably who's going to be the front runners.
And it's going to set you up, right? You're starting the race towards the front. If you got to start this thing towards the back, that is just not.
You're hoping for a miracle.
Yeah, that's not ideal because you probably don't. So that means like even if your car is fast, like you got to hit your lap. Like this might be one of the most important qualifying sessions that we'll have all year. And you look at someone like Ty Gibbs. Like I look at him as someone who can, if he's going to win one, I kind of lean towards he's a pretty good road course racer. He's raced a lot of TA cars.
I hope we can get to a point where we quit saying that.
What?
Which part?
Just the Ty Gibbs part.
I want him to win.
Yeah, I want him to win too.
I want him to win.
But it's like you said earlier, it always seems like something happens.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Why?
And it's not like they don't put themselves in position for it not to.
Got to finish the deal, guys.
Yeah.
But they run in running it when you run in the top 10 and you get wrecked out of the top 10, that's a hard pill to swallow because you don't really, you're like, we did everything we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like when you get wrecked running 15th, you're like, okay, we're around some of the darts without feathers and those things kind of happen. But like top 10.
The old dart without a feather.
The old dart. What's Randy LaJoy say? When you hang around with the squirrels, you're bound to get your nuts busted.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Lord.
Well, based upon how Ty drove at Atlanta, his is all aggression.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the gas, coming through the field, up on the top, through the middle, and was in a good position to score some points and everything happened. So I wouldn't expect anything less from him this week.
Do you expect? So Cindric hasn't. He obviously has a good road racing background,
yeah,
but he has not really performed in the Cup car at the road courses. I feel like this is a big one for him to have that breakout performance.
Yeah, well, I think that these are new levels of preparation, and I think that the focus level of all the playoff drivers is at an all season high, and it happens every season. And it's not just the drivers; it's the crew chief, it's the guys working on the car, it's the preparation, it's the sim time. You've gone through a whole year. You know the tendencies of your car. We've seen the Fords get better throughout the season, but the things that happen this time of year are at another level. And, I think it's time to see if a guy like Austin Cindric can take it to that level and get to that performance on the road courses that we expect out of him, to be able to perform at that high level. But the Toyotas and the Chevrolets have kind of been, they've been the cars that seem to have had the speed on the road courses. Yeah. So it really hasn't been the Fords to be able to have the speed to compete with those two brands.
Who's under the most pressure right now to make something big happen out at the Glen?
Denny Hamlin.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's asked for the pressure. He's asked for the attention.
He's got more than he asked for now.
I don't know if he expected to be. I think it's on him because if he gets bounced out, he is 2 up, right?
Yep, 2 right here. Yep.
All right. So if he does not make a bigger gap here, Bristol is you're gonna hang all your eggs on Bristol. That's tough.
A team we haven't talked about yet that I thought was kind of puzzling yesterday was Brad Keselowski. Just never in the conversation. He did give a lot of feedback that he was pretty unhappy with his car. I guess I expected a little more out of them.
Well, we've been talking about the Roush Fenway. They had those 4 or 5 weeks where they had that speed, and then they just really haven't had the speed that they had last year, and had never consistently followed up with those 4 or 5 weeks of speed that they had. But Brad was terrible at the beginning of the race yesterday, and Buescher just kind of ran mid pack. Didn't do anything exciting. Got
He's
loose.
Like a high at 10.
Yeah, and he actually got loose and hit the 12 and knocked the back bumper and the side off of that car.
Can't believe it still had speed after that.
Yeah, and it was fine. But I think it'll be interesting to see if they have what they need to be competitive. Because if we go off of all the races that we've seen so far on the road courses, it's not going to scream Brad Keselowski is going to be fast at Watkins Glen.
Right.
So they're in that spot where they're right on the bubble. So it's going to be a tough spot for Brad. Briscoe's in a must-win situation. I think Truex can go up there and have a good day, but I think everybody's kind of wondering about where all the team chemistry and what that level of enthusiasm is to go out and find that elite playoff mentality in these last 9 weeks.
Briscoe likes road courses, so I wouldn't be overly shocked if he's in the mix for a win at the end.
So those are kind of the ones we're concerned about. Who are you confident is going to be in a good situation once they're leaving Watkins Glen? Which team?
I think William Byron's going to be in a good spot.
Okay.
I think Ryan Blaney's going to be in a good spot. Christopher Bell.
I knew that one was.
Yeah, I mean that's my. He's got my champion, so he's got to be in a good spot. And then I think someone that's kind of in the middle that'll be in a good spot. I wouldn't say the middle.
Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I think Larson's going to get some of those
rebound.
Back. He's going to. He needs to. Because you just do not want to be that close to that cut line going into the. I think 15 points going into Bristol is too close. That's not comfortable.
Yeah, and I think Chase Elliott, with his road racing background, I think he could make some gains this week. I think that Ty Gibbs will be fast this weekend. I think all the Toyotas will be good. I can't wait to see SVG at the high breaking Watkins Glen track. I think back to Marcus Ambrose and just how dominant he was there, because he could brake so much better. And even in a piece of crap car, he could make you look so bad.
Didn't matter.
And so, Watkins Glen is just, it is that place where if you're just a great under braking, if you're a great braker, Watkins Glen is the place that you can really shine.
The interesting part about it, KV, is that this is one of the ones that everyone's been to a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Versus some of the other ones like Coda or Chicago. No one's really, we haven't done a whole lot of racing there. So I wonder if it levels out a little bit.
It might. I want to talk about this place for a minute, though, because I know you're going out there this weekend for Chief Hype duties.
Yeah. We'll be on the mic.
No, he's doing all kinds of crap this week. You got pit road.
Pit road for the ARCA race.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
back to this pit reporting.
Back to pit reporting. And then Sunday for.
Yeah. But it's such a cool area. I always love going to Watkins Glen, and that fan base up there is very vibrant.
They are vibrant.
The Seneca Lodge.
A lot of Canadians.
A lot of Canadians.
Have you been to the Seneca Lodge?
No, I haven't.
What have you?
I have.
Yeah. It's like a staple.
Yeah.
Everybody goes.
Do you guys go? Have you guys done the hiking?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I took Piper up there last year. We hiked all the way to the top of the.
All the way to the top.
That's fun. She hung
carried her
tough.
most of the way.
I was gonna say. Pipe has a lot of energy, and then I feel like halfway through, it's just like we're done.
Yeah, we get to a point where enthusiastic, and then it's, Dad, will you carry me?
Typical. That's how my kids are too. But did you like racing up there?
I love Watkins Glen. I like the area. I love the history that they have in racing in general.
Yeah.
And if you walk around the town and are able to take some of that in, there's some great restaurants and ice cream shops and Italian restaurants and a lot of things that if you start to learn about the town, you can figure out. But it has a long history in racing, and
rich
I think
history.
It's definitely one of my favorite places to go. It'll be even better this time of year. It should start to be on the backside of
cooler,
being hot.
Yeah.
So it should be cooling off up there, but it's a great area.
Over 100 years, right?
I'm not sure.
Up there? I think it's I think it's in that past that century.
The unique thing about Watkins Glen from a driver perspective, though, is it's fast and it is intense,
technical,
and it's very technical, but at a very high speed.
Oh gosh!
Everything's quick.
Yeah, from a driver standpoint, all the races are a lot of workload, but this workload is high because you're so busy in the car and it's so edgy to go fast through the S's and through the bus stop and the cars sliding and hitting curbs. So it's a very taxing race on the drivers because of the intensity of everything that's going on.
Nowhere to hide either, right? Like if someone wrecks on the S's, you're in it.
And you just got to run over so many dang curves. Right?
Look at his face, he's like, God dang.
And in this car,
curves.
there was nothing. Well, we looked at the data. Kyle Larson had his mouthpiece on last year to measure the G's. And there was at least 15 every time you landed in the bus stop. And that's a lot of reason why they worked on the curbs in the bus stop. So, hitting all those curbs and bouncing off of all the curbs, there's a lot of rhythm. There's a lot of curb jumping, but there's a lot of bumps and things that go with that. So from a driver standpoint, it's a full load.
This round is intense. Like I was just thinking while you were speaking, like you go from Atlanta now to this, and then once we go to Bristol, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Whole other.
Yeah. And I think that for me personally, I underestimated the magnitude just because I'm not in the car every week this year. But as I watch that race and I look at everything that happened at Atlanta, the magnitude and the pressure and the intensity that goes with that race, it's another level. And when you're not in it every week, I can't imagine the emotions of the drivers going in knowing that well, I can tell you because I think an Austin Cindric and Harrison Burton, those guys all knew that going into Atlanta, they had to be able to get something out of Atlanta because of the fact that they, knew they had to go to Watkins Glen and Bristol. And so if they could make a miracle.
Make a miracle.
Make a miracle. They could have made a miracle.
They
didn't make a miracle, but they definitely made some ground.
I heard you talking to Tyler Reddick earlier, obviously, when you were interviewing him, just asking about the pressure and handling everything. And obviously, we've documented on this show today just the rumors and things like that. How did you handle it when you were in the throes of playoff hunt?
So we raced 2014 and we kind of ramped up as we got to the playoffs and things changed and we had that intensity. And really the biggest offseason conversation that we had after 2014 was, okay, how do we carry championship mentality into week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to the playoffs so that we don't have to change the way that you think and race? Because having to change the way that you think and race isn't going to work. Like that's not going to work most of the time. And so, I think the 48 car did this really well with Chad and Jimmy throughout the years. They figured out how to race that championship form every single week. And it's very taxing on the guys in the shop. But to be great at this, there's no way that you can take a week off because there's always something to learn. There's always something to progress forward. There's always that interaction. And as soon as you let your guard down, like the 11 this week, right? You race outside of your character. As soon as you race outside of your character, then you act outside of your character in the shop, or if you're going to take this week off, or if you just, do the things that you don't normally do, and you can't let your guard down. It's constant if you're going to be great at it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
At the shop, and like I remember 14, from the time we started building that team, the 4 team at the end of 13, it had a different energy about it. Like Rodney and Dale Fishline were like, they were
push.
Cheddar. It was push.
Push.
Everything was right.
Everything mattered.
And everything mattered. Everyone's job mattered. And they made everyone feel like everyone's job mattered. So when you feel like they're relying on you, then you do your job a little bit better. It's not like you're just doing this job. And so we had to get the bugs out throughout the year, but we were ready when championship time came. And then going into 15, we started that way. Mm-hmm. And it stayed that way. Like we expected greatness. And it was trying to get perfection. We knew we couldn't be perfect, but we were fighting to be perfect.
I just couldn't imagine chasing that greatness in the 11 in Denny Hamlin's position and going to a racetrack and just saying we need 20 points. Like, why in the world? God, it frustrates me.
Yeah.
I was so frustrated with that whole scenario yesterday because I thought they were the guys.
Yeah.
And after yesterday, I'm blown away.
Kevin's upset because he picked him to win the whole thing.
That's a good point. It really hasn't.
Oh my God.
Pisses me off, actually.
I mean, the amount of times he's picked him to win races.
Yeah.
This is your guy. This is your year, guy.
Well,
this is your year.
Hey, maybe
we're racing for 20 points and laid an egg.
Maybe we'll be sitting here next week and he'll be winner of Watkins Glen. You can ask him all the things on Victory Lap.
Because when we go to Talladega, man, we need to be leading some laps, running up front.
We need to make it through. We need to make sure we make it through to get to Talladega.
Yeah, now we're having that conversation.
There's a lot of talk.
Sucks. All right, we'll have to see what transpires out there.
I feel good about my guy.
Glenn, I know. I feel good. I'm the only one who picks winners on this show.
Well, the good news is it all resets every week.
That's right.
You do have the most winners. She does have 2 winner picks.
At least I'm good at something, guys, because I can't drive and I couldn't build cars and whatever shit you do. So I got something.
You got that part. You nailed that part.
All right, it's time for your sips,
okay.
buddy.
Hello, America.
Hello, America.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast and Mamba's Social Sips, your favorite part of the day. All right, we're going to start. The NFL season has officially started. And our boy, Tom Brady, the greatest.
Well done, Tom.
Well done. The greatest to ever do it.
Yeah.
He had his debut in the booth. And so congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Now, I remember my first time doing
booth.
No, this TV stuff at all. I feel like I'm like a duck. Like I might look calm on top, but my knees and shit. I'm so nervous. And like doing driver intros the same way. Is that so for you guys? How was your debuts?
I've told this story. Mine was with Kevin, and I was nervous as anything. I blacked out. I don't know what you said.
Really?
I think I was.
I didn't know that
It was at a golf thing, so it wasn't even like high pressure, but it was Kevin, A, and B, I was just young. I was 24.
Yeah.
What about you in the booth this year?
I think for me, my booth debut was different.
Yeah, because you've been doing it.
No.
What do you mean?
That was great. I'm glad that I had been doing it because at the Clash this year,
all that craziness.
They came in on Saturday and said, guess
weather.
what, guys? We're going to race today.
I don't know.
All right. What time we starting? You need to be in the booth in an hour.
Right now.
Okay. Well, I prepared for nothing. So going up into the booth and actually probably not having time to prepare was probably better than sitting around and trying to over-prepare for everything that was going on. But my booth debut will never be matched with the intensity that flipped in a matter of an hour and everything that was going on. And it all happened at a pretty fast pace.
Well, I got to hand it to our guy because it's not easy to transition to TV from being full-time competitor. And you made it look so simple.
I had a lot of practice.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it's been fun.
Yeah.
And I think this helps us stay in tune with what's going
100%.
on and allows us to keep up with everything. So you can, if you're not in it every week, you can lose touch with it. Pretty quick.
Our producer wants me to ask you, how did you practice? I know the answer to this, so I'm just letting you know this is his question, not mine.
Just throwing Tyler under the bus.
I love you, Tyler. I'm sorry.
But yeah. I think that the thing that I realized really quickly, we actually came in and did a mock race in studio here with Clint, Mike, and producers, and so there's watching a race trying to cover yourself.
That's weird.
That
During
is
the race
bizarre.
was weird. So that was a little strange.
Did you rag on yourself at all?
I did. I made a couple bad moves.
I would have definitely picked a race that he won or did something terrible, so he had to talk
So
about
if we had to do the mock race again, I would tell you that we probably needed to pick a different race that I wasn't in. Maybe we should have picked an Xfinity race or something where we didn't know anybody's names. But that chemistry with Clint was there right away because of the fact that I know him so well and have been around him. Mike was a little bit intimidating for me because of the fact that he's very good at, he's super good at what he does. And to be able to understand, I just didn't want to offend Mike. I didn't care if I offended Clint, but I didn't want to offend Mike and stepping on his toes or doing something wrong because of he's Mike Joy.
Yeah, you have respect for him. You don't want people you respect.
So just trying to, the thing that I told them both from the beginning was, I just don't want to come in here and do something that you guys don't want to do. I don't have an opinion. I didn't have an opinion when I started of where things would go or how things would work. And they were both really good about saying, hey, you need to do this. This was good. This was bad. And pretty open with everything that was supposed to go on. So I had two great coaches in Clinton.
I think people underestimate, though, how hard it is doing booth work and having that finesse and knowing each other's personalities of when to jump in and the timing of all of it. It's hard.
It is hard. And, I think sometimes I probably laid out in the beginning, just kind of letting things go because I didn't want to jump over the top of somebody and tell a story or something that didn't really fit in with the timing. So the timing is hard.
Yes.
And I think that being up there and even though the Clash was great and we had all these things happen, there's no pressure that's been as high as throwing the green flag for the Daytona 500. Knowing that, now there was a lot of people watching at the Clash, but now there's millions and millions and millions.
Everyone's watching now.
Yep.
Yeah, TV is not easy, folks. It is not an easy thing.
not.
Get the cold sweats.
Yeah, you get a little nervous sometimes. All right, speaking of TV, Bob Pockris Our brother
Yeah.
Bob. I love Bob, and I feel like everyone has a great Bob story. Well, Chase Elliott at Media Day, Chase has a lot of personality, just doesn't show it that often, so I thought this was
Yeah.
great. A little selfie with
Cute.
Bob. Does the playoff Media Day have lights, Bob? Was the
That's
caption.
his question he gets asked more than anything.
Does the
Does
racetrack
this truck have lights?
I love it. So I wanted to give Bob some flowers. What is one story,
Oh,
one interaction
Lord.
with Bob that you'll kind of never forget? I feel like Kevin's might be like, he asked you a question and then you maybe snap back at him.
I'm sure I've snapped back
Yeah.
at Bob. I have to have.
There's no way you didn't.
That was just the way that it works
Mhm.
because Bob asks all the hard questions.
He
So
does.
I think for me with Bob this year, I've really grown to have an even greater appreciation for Bob because of the amount of time and effort that he puts
Yes.
in, the knowledge that he has. I think from a driver's perspective, and the reason that you see Chase Elliott taking a selfie with Bob is the industry respects Bob because he works and does his homework and does everything that he does to make sure that the facts are right.
Mhm.
And when they're not exactly right, he'll come back and correct them and say that he didn't do it right.
Right.
So Bob, for us at Fox and everything that we do on the NASCAR side is an absolute great
Treasure.
resource to have.
Yep.
I agree with that. I mean, and I spend time with him outside of work. I just was with him last week. I
Yeah.
posted the selfie.
Yeah, that's
'cause
why I
we're
wanted-
trying to
yeah.
continue the trend of selfies with Bob. But I second that. I mean, from a journalistic standpoint, nobody works harder. And I really admire that because he's just always grinding and he's always providing our broadcast team. Like any question we have, just text him, he instantly answers.
Yeah.
Like he's always there for our team. He's a great teammate.
He's
So
always on.
Yeah.
we love Bob. I also named my pool robot the cleaner after Bob
Oh, really?
because it's the second hardest worker I know. Is
So
that
did you name
pool
it
robot.
Bob or did you name it Pockrass?
I named it Bob.
And it probably Bob's in the line. Like there's a
It's
couple.
Bob's,
yeah, there's a couple.
exactly.
Yeah, there's a couple things. We love you, Bob. We appreciate you. Okay, we talked about it a little bit during the show. The 48, Alex Bowman. There's been a lot of rumors all year that started pretty early. I think they started really like April. Whether he was coming back to the 48 or not. And he shut him down during media day. And he was like, no, everyone's told me I'm back, I'm here. But when you hear the rumors and people in the media that are trying to keep it stirred up, how does that affect you? How do you block it out? I feel like this weekend was a good way for him to do it, but how did you do it?
Well, I always thought that those types of situations were way easy to address. And obviously he had some good advice and did everything he needed to do at media day so he didn't have to answer them on Saturday.
Right.
So having to answer those questions at a media function outside of the racetrack is much better. And I thought they addressed them head on, but they are frustrating. There's nothing more than frustrating than having to answer those questions over and over and over and over. And you know, when you look at the 48 situation, there's obviously somebody's had the conversation about Bowman not driving the car.
Yeah.
And
No,
some
obviously.
scenarios, and you know, even though he called everybody, there's got to be some sort of conversation that's been had somewhere. So frustrating for the driver, frustrating. I always thought it was more frustrating for the team because the crew chief and the team guys don't want to have to answer the question, and they get frustrated with having to answer questions like that.
Yeah, they're frustrated.
Yeah, I was like, well.
But at least they came out and had a really solid showing in Atlanta. I
Yeah.
think that was a good way to silence people as well. Just performing. That's the
Yeah.
whole point.
And I think when you look at that situation, and then we'll go back to the 11 again. It's just that one's not going to end. I
Yeah.
think when
Mhm.
Alex addressed his scenario,
Mhm.
I think it's probably just done and over with.
I'm gonna
Wow.
I'm gonna add this one in here real quick. Sorry to our guys, they'll have to.
Is this the Hendrick one?
Yeah. So in the media is that Hendrick and McLaren are having
Presser.
a presser at
Tomorrow.
Charlotte Motor Speedway. And the people that are gonna be there are one Kyle Larson, Rick Hendrick, Jeff Gordon, Zach Brown of McLaren, some other high-end folks.
High-end folks.
I don't know what it possibly could be, Kevin.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
do you-
either.
Gosh.
I heard he's
What
going
could this
F1
be?
racing.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. We need somebody over there to pin Zach Brown down because we have a lot of questions that we want to have answers to. About
He's been asking for him
Kyle
since
Larson.
like
So,
day one.
I hope he's going back to run the Indy 500. We all expect
Yeah.
him to go back and run the Indy 500. I think him going back with that experience of what he did before and being able to know what to expect will be great for all of us to watch. And I hope they do it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just want to add that
Stay
a little bit.
tuned.
This is my
We'll find out.
favorite one right here.
Yes.
All right. I love Miss Piper G. And
boy.
she was back at she made me this earlier this summer. I'd never go on camera without my best friend
That's so
bracelet from
sweet.
her. She was back at the racetrack. I love when Kaitlyn's going to race and he's doing his thing, but when Piper's there, I just feel like you all right?
Yeah. She's in a fight with her
Yeah.
microphone.
The microphone almost won. Almost
Yeah.
knocked her out. I feel like it brings out a different part of Unc. Maybe a little softer part of Kevin Harvick.
Does he have a
Yeah.
softer side?
Well, it's much different with Piper. So we don't. You have to push in different ways to get
girls are sensitive.
get the point across or communicate in some instances. So Kyle Larson's daughter Audrey was at the go-kart track on Thursday, and she had a little incident. And she was asking when Piper could come ride because she needed somebody to ride with. So Larson texted me, and I said, I asked Piper, I showed her the text. I said, do you want to go ride? And she's like, heck yeah, let's do it. I'm like, oh, okay.
All right.
Well, we hadn't been in months because when we went in July, she got it done with the go-kart after the second session and said, yeah, go-kart racing is not for me in the summer. It's too hot. I'll come back.
Fair.
Atta
I'll
girl.
come back in the fall.
Atta girl.
So we went to the go-kart track Friday before Atlanta and went out there and made laps. Best day she's ever had.
Aw.
And the reason that it was that way is because she could be the teacher. She wanted to teach Audrey how to go around the racetrack. And so she took instruction in front of her very well. And so Piper had the best day she's ever had at the go-kart track, ran as faster than she's ever run at the go-kart track, and looked like she knew what she was doing, ran every session. We had no issues, no complaining, and had a great time.
Zero surprise.
Yeah,
both of those
Owen
kids
was
are-
there.
Yeah.
So Kaitlyn I sent him down there with Kyle and Owen to go down there and try to help Owen.
Man.
So it was it was great to have the kids out there just making laps.
Kaitlyn, we have a whole new generation. Like there is
I
a
know.
lot of kids
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
that
it's
are
gonna
coming
be
at the
cool,
same time.
Yeah,
Oh,
to
yeah.
see them all rise through the ranks here.
Whether they're driving or going to be mechanics, it's going to be
Yeah.
it's going to be a good time. They'll be a part of it,
For
no
sure.
doubt. So
Very good.
That was
Good
Mama's
sips
Silver
today.
Sips.
That was
Not
a
bad.
long
not bad.
sips.
It was
Yeah.
a lot, but it was good.
Okay. Time now, guys, for our last call and making our picks on who we think can win out in Watkins Glen. Kevin, you can do the honors first.
Yeah, well, I went with William Byron this week. I should have waited a week. I should have done if I could go back and make all my changes after watching Atlanta, I would make different picks. But I'm gonna go with Willie B again this week
Okay.
because of his success on the road courses. I think he's due to have a great run.
Yes.
They've had some okay runs, but nothing great lately.
So that's your Ford pick this week.
Yeah. You stumped me last week because I talked about the Ford and then you picked the Ford.
I'm
and I'm like,
sorry.
well, I can't pick a Ford now.
This is so
Messing.
great.
Yeah. So I didn't do a very good job diverting my choice of competitors after you stumped me.
I didn't mean to.
No,
Oh.
that's okay.
William Byron's a good pick. I'm going with Daniel Suarez. You know, he obviously won on a road course of Sonoma. He runs well at Watkins Glen, 3 top 5 performances there. So
Okay.
I think he could be the guy.
All
Good
right.
pick.
My first initial thought
Ryan
was
Blaney?
Chase Elliott. No. I'm saving that one for
Chase,
later.
you picked last
I
week.
know. That's my initial thought, but he hasn't, since they've moved to this car, the road courses haven't been the same for him.
It's true.
They've been good.
They've been good.
Not
It
great.
just hasn't been dominant like
Been
he used
good,
to
not
have.
great.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Ty Gibbs.
Oh, I like it.
I'm gonna go with Ty because his aggression is high. He wants it really bad, and it's a good place to be aggressive at.
Yeah.
Go with him.
That's
You
right.
have to be aggressive. I mean, we talk about the aggression in these cars all the time, but going to Watkins Glen, you have to be aggressive and you have to be good under the braking and attacking the curbs, and it has aggression written all over it, and he is not short on that.
He's not short on that.
Speaking of aggression, we forgot to grade the burnout.
Which was an aggressive burnout.
Which was an aggressive burnout for Joey Logano there at Atlanta. So, Kevin, you are the ultimate judge. What do you say to this one for 22?
Joey Logano burnouts are always really good, and he did not let us down. So this was right up there with his North Wilkesboro burnout.
Which one was better, this one or the North Wilkesboro one?
Well, I think the North Wilkesboro one was better because I was, right up there in a TV booth.
Felt
and
it.
Rattle the windows.
Right.
This one was a little further away. It didn't rattle the windows quite like North Wilkesboro, but I still think North Wilkesboro was slightly better.
Okay.
Had more power.
Okay, just so everyone knows, he still has SVG's Xfinity
Win.
burnout from
That's
Sonoma as the
P1.
top. And I think this is a second place right now.
You think?
No.
No,
You're
North-
saying that
I
Joey
still-
Logano's.
I think this is his second best burnout. Logano's. I think his North Wilkesboro burnout was better than his Atlanta.
Would you
burnout.
say Logano's?
But
North,
really close. Both really good.
yeah, is Logano's North Wilkesboro burnout the top one or second in line after SVG?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for me.
Even better than Larson's, the one at Indy where he went all the way down the front stretch
Oh,
like
I
you did.
forgot about that
I
one.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at the end of the year, we're gonna have
need
to
to
break
keep
all
a
these
tally.
down.
We're gonna
Yes.
see when you get
Yeah.
old, you're gonna have to have a refresher. So it's hard for me to rank these things because, like, I forgot about the Larson burnout.
Yeah.
I remember the North Wilkesboro burnout because I was
Experiencing it. Yeah.
standing there looking at it, but I forget about some of these things.
Listen.
We're gonna have to have a class of all the burnouts.
Yes.
And be able to watch them again.
I just did this thing for Goodyear, so I just saw all the burnouts all over again. That's the
Oh,
only reason why
I was
able
kind of impressed. I was like, how do you remember that?
Be a good debate for the closers.
Yeah.
Ah,
Who's had the best burnout
yes.
so far.
There you go. Let's get the closers in on this. You guys weigh in on who had
Yeah.
the best burnout so far this year. All right. So your interview, I referenced it, but Tyler Reddick is your Thursday show.
Yeah, we let Tyler Reddick off the hook since he was pooping his pants the week before. We didn't think he'd be healthy on the Monday after Darlington, but we thought it was important to interview the regular season champion.
Yeah.
Because of the year that they've been able to put together, and it's drastically different than the year that he had last year. So I think it's interesting to hear him talk about all the things that they've put into the season. So it'll be a good one.
Did you talk about the wedding?
We did.
Okay, cool.
We talked about the worst guests.
Was it Mamba?
No. It
I don't
wasn't.
know. You'll have to
worst
wait and
guess.
find out.
I was dancing.
You'll have to
so
wait and
maybe.
see.
Of course you were.
I mean, there's those guests that show up that might drink too much and wind up being a little over the top.
Well, obnoxious. Yeah. You go.
Is there one
every
that you could
wedding's
pick
got
from the
that.
Reddick wedding that might have been a little over the top? That might match his?
Yeah.
Who?
No, I'm not gonna lay him out here, but
Oh,
I'm not gonna. No, I'm not saying any names. They
Off
might have been
camera.
in the wedding.
Off
Yeah.
camera. Well,
yeah, and he had some great I guess interaction with Scott Bloomquist.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
stories that he told during the interview. So I can't wait for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, we look forward to that conversation and we look forward to seeing all that's going to unfold at Watkins Glen this weekend. Everybody keep subscribing and following us on social media. Leave us a 5-star review. Interact with these guys in the reviews and comments as well. We will see you guys after Watkins Glen.